Hi everybody, this is Missy Mathis, and this is my presentation on professional standards and accountability at Cape Fear Community College. So just to give you guys a little bit of a background, I'm a member of the psychology faculty at Cape Fear Community College, and at our institution the psychology discipline is housed within the Department of Social Sciences, which is in the College of Arts and Sciences. Basically, this means it's the college transfer program. Although there are multiple levels of accountability from a variety of external sources, for the purposes of this assignment, I'm going to focus on the three that are the most closely related to my job. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges, also known as SACS SOC, as discussed in class. Next, I'm going to talk about the North Carolina State Community College System, which is the governing body that regulates the community colleges in our state. And then third, I'm going to talk about the standards that are provided by the American Psychological Association for teaching in psychology. Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges is the accreditation body that governs our region. Their job is to provide, review, and accreditation for colleges in the area to ensure that the education being offered is of good quality and that high standards are being set and met. Their region includes the 11 states pictured on the screen. Accreditation is reaffirmed every 10 years, and at Cape Fear Community College, we've just gone through this process. Much of their work impacts me indirectly, but not in my day-to-day. There are some aspects, however, of the accreditation process that affect me in my position more directly. First, the recommendation for program requirements impacts which courses are offered and thus available for me to teach. This is to ensure that we meet the requirements for a general education core and that the breadth and depth of material taught is appropriate. While SACS COC is not in my classroom telling me what and how to teach, their decisions impact college policies that do, to an extent, dictate those things. The required quality enhancement plan affects the overall focus of the college, which currently is directed towards the first-year experience. Since many of my students are first-year students, the decision made about the QEP has a bigger impact for me. The North Carolina Community College System is the governing body for all the community colleges in the state. Their goal is to make sure that North Carolina community colleges are providing access and quality education to the citizens of North Carolina. They set policies and guidelines for school administrators, faculty, and students. Much of the work we did in annotating the CFCC handbook highlighted impacts from the system office. For example, our comprehensive articulation agreement with universities in the state is a good example of work being done in the North Carolina Community College System. This is an agreement between the community colleges and the public state universities regarding the transferability of courses. The system office holds administrators and faculty, including myself, accountable for knowing the policies and regulations and enforcing them. In addition to creating the paper format and citation format that maybe is driving everybody crazy right now, the APA, or American Psychological Association, also is an accountability agency for people who teach psychology. Now, on one level, the APA provides accreditation for clinical psychology programs at the doctoral level. But for me personally, teaching at the undergraduate level, there's not specific accountability in terms of accreditation or reporting, and there's really no consequences for not being able to meet the standards that the APA sets. But they are dedicated to trying to help increase excellence in the teaching of psychology. And so there's a couple of different things that are going on. There's a committee on associate and baccalaureate education, which represents psychology teachers at both 4-year and 2-year institutions to make sure that they are represented at conferences and that their voice is considered. There are also APA guidelines for undergraduate psychology majors, which helps to set learning goals and outcomes for psychology majors so that if people are completing a baccalaureate degree, these guidelines should be met. These learning goals should be met. And then they're also dedicated to just sort of in general creating an educational system that trains psychology majors with skills that they need to be successful in the workplace. Now, as I've said before, there's really no accountability here in terms of what happens if you don't do these things. But when we think about higher education, obviously colleges and universities who want to be successful are going to try and meet these standards as much as possible so that they can provide the quality education and attract the good students. So, in my particular field of teaching psychology, the APA standards and guidelines are very important in terms of what I teach and how I teach in the classroom. Of the 3 levels of accountability, I have to say the most important to me and the one that relates most to my job every day is the standards provided by the APA. I'm aware of and certainly need to adhere to the guidelines and recommendations from SAC-COC and from the North Carolina Community College system. But the reality is much of that I only have to deal with rarely. In preparing for this assignment, I probably learned more about SACs and the system office regulations than I ever knew. If we as a college don't adhere to these guidelines, we certainly would lose funding, maybe accreditation, and most certainly my job would be at risk. But day to day, my teaching doesn't take much of those into account. They would be more relevant if my job description required application of these regulations more often. We really, as faculty, only think about these about once every 10 years. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to my presentation today. And if you have any questions about my job or my accountability standards, please feel free to email me. My email address is on the screen, and I look forward to hearing from you.